Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here on the Culture Wave Media Network. And today we're going to be talking about Netflix's newest original movie that is a Christmas movie. It is Carry On. Stars Taron Egerton, Jason Bateman, Sofia Carson, and Danielle Deadwyler. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined this time by Liz Seiko.
Hello, hello.
And Michael Peniston.
Hi, everybody.
Let's get into it. So this is one that you hadn't heard of this when I first put it on the schedule. You're like, what is Carry On?
Literally, I was just told to watch it, and I was like going fully and blind about it.
And then you texted me over the weekend. You're like, I didn't know this was a DreamWorks movie. And I'm like, oh, it's not animated. Did you pick the right one? You're like, no. You'll see when you watch the movie. Like, it's by DreamWorks.
It's definitely DreamWorks.
And I'm like, you're right. It is DreamWorks. But this is a movie. So this has been on my radar for a while because we had said off camera, I'm a huge Jason Bateman fan.
Mm-hmm.
I love Ozark. I also love pretty much everything he's ever done. Like, I love Arrested Development. I love this small dramedy he did, This Is Where I Leave You. I even like Horrible Bosses. I think the first one's fun. But Jama Colette Serra, the director of this film, is known for doing like these big over-the-top sort of throwback action movies. And this one was for Netflix. And I actually first heard about it because I was listening to the Smartless podcast, which is co-hosted by Jason Bateman as well as Will Arnett and Sean Hayes. And they were like, you're doing something different than you've done before, Jason. You're playing a villain in a movie and you have to do some physical activity, which he only has one real physical scene, but It was interesting to see that happen. But basically, this is a movie that very much feels like a throwback to the action thriller sort of time of the 90s. And you had said, even before we started recording, that everyone is essentially calling this the new Die Hard.
Yes.
So why don't you give us the plot, Liz, and discuss a little bit about your broad thoughts of what you thought about Carry On.
Okay. This is, so plot-wise is we have Ethan, who it starts off with us finding out that his girlfriend is pregnant. They both work at a airport. He's a TSA agent. She is kind of like a manager of like the front desk area. You find out that he's kind of like not doing great at work. He's kind of slacking. He's always wanted to be a cop. This is kind of just like a second job that he's taking because it's at least closer to being a cop than not. Essentially, he somehow gets onto, I don't know what it's called when they're like checking the bags through TSA.
Baggage claim? Or something?
No,
that's the way to pick it up.
It's an X-ray tech, isn't it? Or
I
something
think
like
so.
that?
I don't know the exact name of it, but it's when they're looking at the screen of the bag going through, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, "Here, this isn't mine. Here's like an ear pick," and then the action kind of begins of him being thrown into this terrorist attack in
Basically,
a way,
a domestic terrorism sort of thing.
of somebody walking him through just a terrorist attack that's going to happen. And we find out that the person that is speaking to him is Mr. Jason Bateman. And he, for me, is one of the saving graces of this film. I really enjoyed his performance. He's very creepy and is very... he does it in a very like mundane way, though. It's not over the top. It's not aggressive. It's just very monotoned kind of, which is almost more chilling than if he was super aggressive and like angry the whole time. Overall, my first thoughts about this film are I like it because of the Christmas aspect. If it was just a regular action film, I don't know if I would be such a big fan of it because I think it would just be another random action film that takes place in an airport. But I think bringing in the Christmas element is very fun. They have Christmas music while like actual aggressive fight scenes are going on and like people are getting killed. So I don't know, the juxtaposition of that was very interesting and like a nice choice. I think some of the action sequences are very thrilling and interesting to watch. The ending loses it for me a little bit, only from the writing aspect. I think the performances are really good. I think that the cast overall does a really great job of keeping it real. There's just like a lack of realism that starts to happen towards the end. But also, I don't know, this is a Christmas action movie. I guess that they can't have it really live in realism the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Michael, what are your thoughts? Broad thoughts.
Broad thoughts. Going into this film, I also didn't really know too much. I didn't know this movie was made until I saw I was on the list.
Put it on the schedule.
But I watched it, and I was a fan. I was a fan of most of the beginning of the film. I agree. It kind of got a little weird in the end, quick. But going into this film, I was excited to have an action movie. I agree that we haven't had just like a good action movie. I guess some people might say like Mission Impossible or something like that might be most recent, if I could even think of one. And that's not even like that there to me. So I really wanted something that was good. So I was really excited going into this. I'm a big fan of Taron Egerton. I love the Kingsman movies, and so I was excited to see this action side of him. Jason Bateman, I'm also a very big fan of him. I remember I watched Arrested Development, and like that was what kind of like put me on, and I watched everything Jason Bateman in that weekend, I think. And one thing about him is he is so good at just like playing like a natural character. Like he does it like no one else. And I think he even like talked about in an interview once that like just like be yourself. Like that's what he was taught, and like it's just worked ever since. And every performance I've seen him in has just been like naturally amazing. And so I think, going to your point, Liz, I think that's why it worked so well. It's because he was just like naturally like, and he's so confident with that too when he acts. And so it's like to see the natural confidence in such a crazy character. I think he was the saving grace, I agree, of the film. But the film itself was interesting. I'd say because it definitely had a great cast. I really like Danielle in this film. Danielle,
Deadwyler.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I really liked her performance in the piano lesson that we just covered, and so to see this in kind of like a juxtaposed, sort of way, it was really cool. She's very talented, and the story itself was just it was cool to kind of like follow an earpiece the whole time. A lot of things I'd say. Really quick, just wanted to highlight it. The writing was kind of weird, but at one point, like they kept referencing like Freehold, New Jersey.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm surprised it took either one of us.
I
that long to say something.
forgot.
Because, and I don't want to cut you off. I'll just say, whoever hasn't viewed us and is seeing us for the first time, they reference the Freehold Raceway Mall, which is about 20 minutes from where we all originally are from. So that was crazy because, and he's originally from New Brunswick.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that was kind of shy. I was like, whoa, there's like real references to New Jersey in this movie. So that was interesting.
It really hit a little.
The writers from East Brunswick.
That's what
East
I was
Brunswick.
just.
Okay,
Gotcha,
so
gotcha.
there you go. That might be why.
Got you. That really hit a little too close to home too, because I like watched this movie with my mom, and so when they like said these places, I like looked at her like
what?
Yeah, I was like, are you in on this too? Like, do I need an earpiece? And so it was interesting. I'll leave it.
So here's the thing that I was most impressed with is I thought that the direction in this movie was really, really great. I think that the technicalities of so many of the sequences that happened felt like a really well done, like taut action thriller. Like it just felt like everything was moving in the right direction until the wheels fall off at the end. But I don't know if that necessarily has to do with the direction, obviously. I think part of that might unfortunately be because of, we had talked about how they might have been trying to set something up for a sequel, how they might have wanted to keep a runtime under 2 hours. The movie clocks in at 1:59, so they just got it underneath.
Just made it.
2 hours, which might have also played a part in it. Bateman, again, similar to what you guys were saying. I think you would use, what was the word you used? You said he plays
a normal person.
He plays a normal, like
Natural.
They I think what makes the role of his character, which his name is just known as Traveler, what makes Traveler work so well is the fact that you have to make that character an everyman. Like he needs to be somebody that would look unsuspecting in an airport. And I think that Jason Bateman is like one of like the 3 or 4 actors you can get that can do something like that. It's like I thought the same thing of his character in like the movie Air, where like he plays this exec, but he's not the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
He's just trying to be logical. He's just trying to get through his job every single day. That's who he is. I mean, even in Ozark, the way his character starts, He's just a guy that just wants to, just wants to put food on the table for his family. That's who this character is in this movie. And I do like how they were able to sort of have his mentality kind of go off against Ethan, because especially in the beginning of the movie, you get that juxtaposition of the first time we get to see Ethan, it's very obvious that he can't really make decisions for himself.
Mm-hmm.
So much of his characters and Sofia Carson's character, Nora, literally says to him, she's like, well, you moved here for me. And you're in this job for me. And it paints Ethan as a weak character in the beginning of that movie by just being able to showcase that he is not, at this point in his life when we meet his character, he's not capable of making decisions for himself, or at least the decisions that he needs to put himself in a better place in his own life.
Mm-hmm.
And with Jason Bateman's character, everything is calculated. Everything is broken down to a science. And I think that is why I was so engrossed in this movie very early on. I was like, this is getting me. Have either one of you guys ever seen the David Fincher movie, The Game?
Oh, yeah.
It reminded me of that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very cat and mousey.
Yep.
And I thought
high tension.
Yeah, 100%. And every single situation too, where Ethan then had to figure out, he was trying to outsmart him.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time, like even the little moments, the thing with the watch I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't seen, that's a good use of smart technology in the current world.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about it. I thought that it had really great nods to being able to not only play within the modern world, but also the TSA world
Mm-hmm.
and what that looked like.
Well, I loved that aspect of the film too, because I think a lot of flight films, it's only from the passenger's point of view. And I really loved being able to see the behind the scenes of just the TSA agents interacting with each other and seeing what the different rankings are of oh no, you're on checking duty. You got to pat those people down, go back. I think it was just a really nice way to also bring in a little bit of comedy too, to prepare us for where the film was going to go. So yeah, I really loved the beginning part. I thought that they were writing very smart scenes, very smart moments. Yeah, and then the ending for me just started to nosedive.
So I think that 3/4 of the movie I really enjoyed.
Okay.
I know I'm not trying to shit on someone, but I feel like every scene with Sofia Carson were things that I didn't.
How'd you feel
love.
about her in the beginning?
In the beginning, she's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then even the first scene we get with her character and Ethan's when they're sitting down
Having
and
lunch.
Bateman's talking to him, the way she's acting, even when he's like, stop telling me what to do. I don't know. It was even that whole interaction just didn't feel natural to me. And they didn't feel like two people that loved each other.
Yeah, I don't know. Her character for me felt too nice. I feel I don't know. She also works in an airport. It's fucking Christmas. You'd be heightened. You'd be heightened. You'd be a little bit on edge. And she was just whatever you want to do, baby. We're gonna do it. No worries, no worries. And it's no, girls, there's worries right now. You have a gun to your head and you don't even know it.
That was crazy.
That was cool.
Yeah, what did you do? I was sitting there I was like, there's a fucking dot on your head. I'm like, what's going on? What is happening?
So I was on board for all of that. Also, I think that they the point that they really lost me was when she is running from the van, the guy that gets out of the
Theo
van.
Rossi's character, yeah.
And she runs outside to a parking garage by herself. There is a packed airport full of police, full of cops, full of security. Why would you run the complete opposite way and go to a deserted parking deck and hide in a corner?
Yeah, only to get to Jesse's character.
Yeah,
that was the main reason.
That's
why.
the fully only reason why, because
it's based on convenience.
Yes, because they needed a reason to get to his character, and it wouldn't have worked if she went into a private sector room.
I think that's fair. Michael?
That is fair. Yeah, no, at first I didn't really think too much of her character, to be honest, when we were first introduced to her, just because she was kind of just there. The point that I realized that oh no, I don't like her was the point that I realized it was right after I forget exactly who had died at this point in the film, but it was somebody that was like she knew was. I think they worked on the same lane. Him and her boyfriend or whatever. And like she had
cop, the black cop,
the black cop. Yeah, and she like that was the first time I think that like there was like the moment where Jason Bateman's character had like the earpiece and like he was really kind of like controlling that moment. But she was like kind of like acting really like why are you acting like this? Why, you know what? And then like kind of like calmed herself down, be like, you just watched your friend die and stuff like that. And then immediately right after went back to freaking out again, as if like she didn't just like, I don't know. It was like she was very like back and forth with me, like despite also being like a yes person throughout it all. And so yeah, I wasn't a big fan of her character. And I don't know. That's all I really got to say.
But then you have a very well-written, independent female character.
Yeah.
With Danielle Deadwyler, who I think added a different dynamic to this. You had brought her up a little bit, Michael, but she's like very heavy in awards talk right now for the piano lesson, and she's an accomplished actor. And I think that also might have hurt Sofia Carson because of the separation in talent. Like, I don't know.
I truly think it's her character. Her character had all the plot points missing. Like every hole was her character. And I think that they just didn't flesh her out to the full extent, because even like the full arc of her character is just her pushing and believing in her boyfriend the entire time. There's no change. There's no arc. It's literally just like a constant. Versus every other character has like an ups and downs, has things happening to them and affecting them. So I think that it was just the writing. I don't know if it's necessarily her delivery and acting of it. I think it was just
I think that's actually, because I'm thinking about it too. Like, remember, so what is it, early on in the film she says to, it's either a different coworker or she might say it to the character Jason, played by Sinqua Walls, the guy who gets fired for the liquor in the coffee. She says it to either him or another coworker, where she's like, I don't know, I've been calling Ethan all day. He's not answering the phone.
just a random, yeah.
Then we get to lunch, and there's
no question about it.
Oh, why didn't you answer me for the last fucking 2 hours that I've been calling you?
So that's what I mean.
Yes.
Like, there's no edge to her character or anything of picking up on like, why are you being weird right now? There's just, oh, it's all good. It's all good. Merry Christmas. Like, there's no reason of like, why aren't you talking to me right now? Why are you being quiet?
That also hurts probably the chemistry between the two characters, because it's like, how do you even know that they love each other if they can't
she's
even
like,
up on
if she's just coming at him? So
Yeah.
I guarantee they were like, we need to feel the love, and the love needs to come from your side. So her direction was probably just
be nice,
be supportive, and be the loving girlfriend.
Yeah, I can see that though. I can see that.
Which sucks. I feel like they should have had just like more dimension for her character.
I think that's fair. Ethan Kopech as a character, Taron with his performance. We'll start with you. What did you think about him leading this, and did you like how he was able to handle the tenseness of the drama with it as well as the action?
I thought that he handled it very well, to be honest. Honestly, we were saying that Jason was such a huge part of this, as far as like the good side of it. But honestly, like, I thought that Taron held up just fine with him. I thought they matched each other perfectly. Again, I knew of what he could do with Kingsman, and I know of his range, seeing him in projects like both biopics, Blackberry and Rocketman.
Yeah.
And so I knew that he could hold up in this performance, and I thought he did. He's a good action star, I think, and I would like to see him more in these types of roles. I know that there was a show that he was in. I didn't get to watch.
He was great. Blackbird.
I heard that is amazing.
He's great in the show, and the show is amazing.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
I think that he is underutilized, and I think that he should be one of those names that is brought up in meetings more. And I think that he has a lot of layers to himself as an actor, and he's done different things. I want to see him do more prestige stuff, because I think he can handle it. I just think it's so interesting the way his career has gone, where he hasn't gotten a chance to work with like a director of name necessarily, but he's always doing all these different things. I mean, Kingsman was like his first big thing. Then he did Eddie the Eagle, which was like a very different movie with Hugh Jackman, which he plays like this Olympic skier. And then he played Elton John, and then he was doing this prison drama with Paul Walter Hauser. Like and then he did the movie on Tetris with the Russians.
Oh, it was Tetris, not Black.
Yeah. But like I think he's a very capable actor. And my favorite part of the whole entire movie was his dynamic with Bateman. I think the two of them going tit for tat with each other and trying to outsmart one another was what kept me so engaged for so long. And when you lose the earpiece part of it, which you have to eventually anyway, and I did like the way that they handled it. I liked the scene where he has to make the decision and he's pointing the gun at D. Norris's character. I loved that whole scene in the room and what had to happen with the character named Mateo and all that stuff that kind of followed. But like you both had said, I think that last 20 minutes when he goes full John McClane, I think is where it feels like, okay, I don't know if you got me to that point yet. You know what I mean? Like Bruce Willis had that with John McClane and you felt it. And they were trying to they're trying to make it a Die Hard clone. Like they definitely are. But I don't think it was as well earned necessarily to get to that point by the end of it, where it got like you have to suspend disbelief, like you said. But
yeah, do you think it's because of the writing though, or do you think maybe it's because Bateman played it so chill that his level of intensity wasn't matching Egerton's?
No, I think it was probably the writing. I think that there are just moments that like I don't know, one of you guys have brought it up before we started recording, but the scene where Danielle Deadwyler's character finally catches up with him.
Yeah, and then
she's like, "Are you shot?" And then she like handcuffs him with one hand, and then he just like bumps her, and then he's like, "I gotta go."
He literally pushes a cop, and it's like, you just assaulted a cop.
Yeah,
like they're gonna, and then she's just like, "Okay, see you later. Yeah. Like we'll catch up with you." What?
And I think that Jesse's character also, it's just convenient. Like it's the conveniency of Nora ending up in the parking garage and being saved by Jesse, because Jesse at that point then knew that Mateo was in the same situation that Ethan was in. And there's some,
which I did like that element. I didn't expect his character, Mateo's character, to also have an earpiece in and being blackmailed.
I agree. And I like that too.
Element.
But I think that there's the conveniences that are writing your characters into places where you're always going to be saved by someone else.
Yes.
And I don't love the saving grace of all of that.
No,
sometimes I want the movie to get a little bit more gritty. I want the movie to get a little darker.
You wish that she died?
I wish somebody died.
Other than Bateman? Well, Mateo did.
Yeah. That's fair. And so did Dean Norris's character.
Yeah, so like there
I wanted more bloodshed.
There was like a good amount.
And my guy, the rapper. Don't forget about my guy, the rapper.
No,
He's alive.
Was he?
Yeah, yes. He was on the stretcher and he's like, I got an album coming out in 2 weeks, man.
I didn't even see that.
Dang, he's alive.
Right. Which he was great.
Yeah.
By the way, what a great and I was gonna say, I think that genuinely a lot of these movies sometimes they have, and sometimes it's even more talented people than what this cast was, but you'll have a huge ensemble for an action movie, and then you'll put people in these roles where you're just like, what do you have them doing?
Yeah.
In this movie, I didn't feel that at all. I felt every character, for the most part, had their purpose, maybe with the exception of just the way Nora's character was written. But everybody, even Logan Marshall Green, who played the fake agent, I loved the mystery of his character, and then when you get into that huge car scene, which we can get into now, because it's what everyone's talking about. You were talking to Michael and I before we started recording. We're like, let's stop and wait for the cameras to roll, because you've never seen an action scene really done like that, probably. It's filmed a different way.
Yeah, it's definitely filmed like it felt like it was a video game.
Yes,
is how I first reacted to it. I was like, oh wow. Which sometimes I don't all love how all of a sudden we're like talking and then all of a sudden we get into full action. But this for me was very warranted because of the surprise of making his character not who he said he was. Loved it. Thought it was a great choice. Also, she is a cop, so she's trained for combat. It's not like some random woman that's just all of a sudden, and now I'm going to be in like full combat mode, even though I've never had training before. So I buy it. But yeah, the camera work, crazy, wild.
Yeah, really well done. And I thought that whole scene was earned, and we were saying we thought it might have led us down a different path for what the movie was going to end up. Or were you disappointed that we didn't go that direction, or were you happy with the scene and where we eventually ended up?
I mean, I was happy with the scene. Like, I was very happy. But yes, I was disappointed that it didn't go that step at least like one more time, you know, throughout. I feel like they definitely had the room to do something like that. And even working in like a tight space like that, there were plenty of opportunities where something like they could have done something cool with him and Jason on the plane. You know,
that's the
Right?
if you could have done it anywhere, that's where you should have done
exactly.
it.
And
I think so, and I agree with that. I do.
One other area that I feel like they maybe could have done it too is when they're in like what are they? The tracks that they have all the luggage on.
Yeah, the luggage.
Oh, him and Mateo.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done it there. And I saw like some comments on like Letterboxd. People are like, they just really love Toy Story 2's scene and wanted to copy it.
That's awesome. That's so funny. No, I did enjoy this movie though. I thought it was. I will say this too, and one of the reviewers that I was listening to after I watched the movie was talking about this, and I do agree. It's weird because we're in this very weird landscape of like streaming movies versus theatrical versus like what does that even look like? Because to me, this is like one of the better Netflix movies I've seen. Like this is a movie that I'm like, this is made for streaming.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like, if I saw this on the big screen, would I still enjoy it as much? Would I not enjoy it as much? Like some of these sequences, do I want to see them on a big screen? So I don't know. It's like, is it a higher standard now because this movie's just better than a lot of other streaming movies? Or like, could this play better than something else? Like the reviewer was discussing, because again, it's a Christmas thriller. You have a Christmas action movie that came out a few weeks ago in Red One that bombed, completely bombed. And it's two of the world's biggest actors doing silly, giant CGI shit. And the movie was made for $300 million. This movie, let's see what, I don't know if it's on here on IMDb, but I can't imagine it was anywhere near what the budget for that movie was.
No, probably not.
So to me, this was like a really enjoyable, like, I enjoyed watching this movie. Like I was entertained the whole time. There were characters that had really good interactions with one another. I thought the direction, like I said, was really well done. So I enjoyed this movie as a whole. What did you think about the whole thing with the streaming versus theatrical?
I think it's hard to tell, but I think like a big element too is when obviously around the holidays, theaters have a ton of films coming out, and I think it gets very saturated. And I don't think that a film like this, I mean, we didn't even know that it was coming out, Michael and I, on
But
Netflix.
Is that because we have too many things to watch at this point?
Yes, I think so. I think that there's too many other big films, and this film can't come out any other time because it's a Christmas film or it's a holiday film. And so they can't have it come out. I mean, they could do like a Christmas in July, I guess, and like try to hype it up. But I think that even though it's a good film, if it were in theaters, it would have completely bombed.
Which
1,000%.
Which I think sucks though too, because I feel like if you put this movie in like 2005, this movie makes a good amount of money. It was made for $47 million. I think if you have somebody like Taron, who people know from Elton John, from Kingsman, I think you could probably maybe pre-COVID gross $150 million for this movie. It's a big action movie. It's I'm saying if you put it out for Christmas.
The only other thing too that I'm thinking is it's a good action film. The ending drops though. If they had a solid, firm ending on this, then I could have seen them maybe pushing to like do theatrical release. But I don't know. I think that the ending gets very sloppy and they just kind of want to wrap it up, which for me just seems like put it on Netflix then. And people are definitely going to watch this. People are watching this more than they would have if it was in theaters.
I agree. I think it's getting more attention because it's on Netflix. I think it's like, I haven't seen Red One. I've heard nothing but bad things about Red One. I just know that I feel in my gut that this is probably a better movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, I hope people go and watch this movie as a fun action thriller with their families for Christmas, because we haven't had... We were talking about this recently. Like, I can't recall many Christmas movies in recent years that I'm like, oh man, I have like a new thing that I can watch. like on Christmas, like around Christmas.
Oh,
time,
last year was
What was last year?
Divine Joy Randolph.
Oh, the Holdovers, yeah. Which you said it. Wait, what was the debate last year? Didn't you say? Oh no, we were all debating it together, right? That it's a cozy movie.
It's a cozy movie.
And the
so does
director
that...
said no.
Yes.
Which I was like, no, it's
He's
definitely.
like, I don't want it to be a cozy movie. But now, if you look up any holiday watch list, it's all up on there.
Yeah.
So we did have one last year, but very different tones.
Completely different tones.
Completely different tones.
Entirely different.
But I also think, I don't know, I think around this time, people want to go to the movies to see kind of prestigious films.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are actually going to the theater to see a holiday movie. People want to be cozy on their couch with a blanket and some like either hot chocolate or wine so that they can watch their Christmas
I think
movies.
that's fair. I think it's fair because like you were saying, I think this movie would work well. But then I think about like, and I haven't seen this movie yet, but I know some people love this one. This is another big streaming one, right? Spirited, that movie with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. I never saw it either, but yes, if you put that movie out in theaters with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell and it's Christmas, that movie does well.
Did it come out in theaters?
No, it was strictly Apple.
Because I feel like people don't go actually and see. I don't think they see holiday movies.
But we
in
haven't
theaters.
had any besides Red One, and it was like, I don't know.
Because I think that they've seen the repetition, and they're like, people don't want to go to a theater and watch a cozy Christmas movie. They want to be at home and watch it.
Okay, maybe you're right. Do you agree?
I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. It's so funny because I've like had to like kind of dissect both of what you guys are saying, and I definitely agree that this film is a streaming movie. Whether it's to the point that you said that like the ending, they realized, okay, no, it should go to streaming. It still has a bit of a streaming just feel going into it. That just kind of feel like that. As far as the whole Christmas sort of debate, I do agree. I do feel like Christmas movies are more of like that sit at home watch, get cozy sort of thing. So I can see why that's a streaming thing. Although you're right, we haven't really had Christmas movies to see how that would do.
You've got to have an opportunity for something like that to happen, I feel like.
Exactly. And Red One like kind of gave that opportunity, but also like it wasn't. It's also The Rock's face.
I would say it gave the opportunity for all the wrong reasons.
Exactly.
Like you have a Dwayne Johnson that's like doing the worst he's done financially in the theater in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Evans, who hasn't had a single successful movie post Marvel, plus a $300 million budget.
Yeah.
An action movie and CGI creatures that nobody cares about.
Not only that, and then Liz kind of talked about this as well as far as the more prestigious things. You're right. You kind of go into the holiday season expecting like a franchise film to come out, like
or an awards movie.
Yes.
Yeah, sort of thing. And so I feel like it will get sugar coated. Any movie of this level, if it's in a theater like that, even if it was Spirited, to be honest, I think it would still have the same effect. And I don't know, and maybe it is the Christmas portion of it, maybe it's because a lot of these are just streaming films. Maybe it goes way into the whole theaters are somehow still dying argument. I don't know what
we have to do a whole episode on that,
right?
Because there's so much to talk about with the industry at large.
It is,
but I just hope that this made me happy to watch a movie that I felt like I could enjoy it around Christmas time with my family, because it's still it's a fun action movie that actually makes you think and has good characters and good direction. So I enjoyed this movie. I think I enjoyed it more than both of you, but
You did.
we'll see.
It's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
I gotta take a notch when you don't give a powerful punch at the end.
Okay. You have your score ready?
I think I do.
You want to go first?
Oh, I'll go first. I'm gonna give this movie a solid 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think it's so it's a 2-hour movie. I would say an hour
40.
Hour 30. I was gonna give it hour 30.
You love your 90-minute movies,
is
Liz.
Good, is solid, and then it just starts to really make the audience hold on at the end. There's just some unbelievability of cops just believing the girlfriend. And then I'm just gonna say it, I hate when one character who has no background is just like, I'm gonna save the world, and like does save it, because it's like there's no way that this man jumped on a moving plane and then like
Liz,
disarmed a
suspend
bomb.
disbelief. It's an action
I
movie.
get that, but then make the rest of the movie that. Anyways, they lost me. And then at the end, the girlfriend says, I knew you could do it. Did you? You really knew that he was going to jump into a moving plane and disarm a bomb and kill someone?
Talk your shit, Liz.
But I digress. So it's really writing problems for me. I think that they had a great plot, a great like starting point, but they didn't know how to wrap it up. And that is why I'm giving it a 7.
Okay. I that's actually higher than I thought you were gonna go.
Oh, really? I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't like the ending. Well, Michael's gonna go low.
No, I'm not good.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm between 2 scores right now. I'm between 2 scores. I don't even know if I can give it like a solid, because I'm like really in between the two. I'm between a 7.5 and an 8.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Jeez.
god. I'm thinking more 7.5, but I might get it to like a 7.7. Like, I think that there was just so much appeal in so much of like the first 75% of this movie that hooked me so much. Like, the relationship between Bateman's character and Egerton's I thought was great. The supporting thing was something that was in my head the whole time, because I couldn't stop thinking about how often is it that we get these like action thriller movies where the whole ensemble for the most part is like playing their roles to a T. Everybody knew what their job was, despite how simple their roles might have been. And I thought it worked out perfectly. I thought Jama Colette Sarah's direction was really, really well executed. I think that the writing obviously has its holes. I guess if I had to pick a score, I'll go 7.5 between the two of them. But I'll go 7.5. But this is one that like I look forward to returning to around Christmas time, and I will rewatch it, because I think it's like the last time. When was the last time we had like a fun Christmas action movie? Like, it's been forever.
Die Hard.
Probably Die Hard, which was 40 years ago at this point. It's crazy. But Michael.
Yes.
Ooh.
What's it called? So I was surprisingly going to give it an 8. I was going to.
Oh.
But then you brought up like, and that's why I was dying so hard just now. When you brought up the point of like this whole like thing where like character with no background just saving the world, like, you're right, that happens a little bit too much now. I'm realizing, and like that we gotta stop. We like that. I get it, it's like the point of the movie is like they're supposed to find their future, but like baby steps. So like I'm going to a 7.5. I think I'm gonna match that just because it was still good, but like that's, I don't know why that just like
that really blew your mind.
Right?
That opened up your cerebellum to different information for sure. No, but sure. I thought it was fun. I definitely recommend. I think it's one of the better things you can watch right now on streaming. I think that, like, it's a fun movie to watch with your family, especially around the holidays. So let us know in the comments what is your guys' thoughts on the movie Carry On. Let us know your favorite performances, what you guys liked about the movie, what you maybe disliked about the movie. We'd love to have a conversation with you guys in the comments. If you can also give this video a like and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. We cover all things film and TV. We're currently covering Skeleton Crew for Star Wars. We have our Golden Globe predictions up, and that's coming up in the new year. We're going to be doing a live stream for that. We're super excited. Award season is upon us. Everyone's very excited with all the movies and TV, and wrapping up the end of the year stuff as well. So let us know what are some of your favorite movies and TV shows as well in the comments of the year in our Golden Globe predictions and everywhere else. You can also follow us on all our social media. All that stuff is below me in the video, as well as in our YouTube description. We're on any social media that you guys may or may not have. We're on there for you guys. So definitely check that out if you guys can. Just signing off, I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Liz Seiko.
And I'm Michael Peniston.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.